Challenge accepted, boy. Challenge accepted. Everybody in this chat is going to be a pro at Queen's Blood. I will make this my mission, chat. You guys, myself, you, if you're watching this later, if you're not even watching this live, you guys are going to be pros at Queen's Blood. Now that we talked about all the screenshots, guys, things that we all, that you guys all arrived here for, the time has come. We now got to go through this article together. Spoilers ahead, because they do talk about some stuff that happens in the FF7 OG game. If you care about that, feel free to click off and read this or check this out at your own risk. Just giving you guys that warning right now from the jump. This exclusive preview article right here, you can read through this, and this specifically talks about all of their experiences and things that they witnessed in the article. However, the actual article itself has a combination of both that and the interviews with devs. So I kind of want to go through this because this actually goes a little bit more into detail with it. And I think you guys will really appreciate some of the things that specifically like Nomura and Hamaguchi say that relates to the development and the details for the game. Remaking a classic. When a game is as beloved as Final Fantasy VII, modernizing it without alienating fans of the original can be a tricky proposition. If you keep things too close to the remake, then you don't keep up with the latest trends, squandering the opportunity to create something distinct. Conversely, if you push things too far away from the source material, you risk alienating those who made Final Fantasy VII so famous in the first place. According to Toriyama, the members of the team who experienced 7 as fans like Hamaguchi and Endo are more protective of the source material than those who worked on the original title. So the OG devs like Kitase and them want to change things up and do new things, whereas Hamaguchi and Teruki Endo, who is the battle combat designer, are opting to wanting to keep things and preserve things that people loved about the OG game, which I love and respect both sides of that, right? I wanted to expand something even more that we all love and know about, and also giving us new details to enjoy together. For Endo's part, the battle system. Your boy BltzZ's favorite part about all this, so let me nerd out for a sec, right? For Endo's part of the battle system, he opted to blend action with the more traditional ATB mechanics from the OG game, in which characters can act once a meter fills up. The result appeals to both new and longtime players, seeing that the Final Fantasy series has a strong focus on its characters. I believe the action enhances this and lets the players be further immersed into the characters they play. Endo says, along with the strategic battles, I believe, which are key to Final Fantasy VII, I wanted to see how best I can mix these two elements of the command and strategy-based battle with the action that allows for that in instance immersion. Dude, he knocked it out of the park, man. When I heard that they were gonna make Final Fantasy VII more action orientated, but also like still retain the ATB aspect that we love and choosing abilities from that, I thought it was genius. I thought it was a great way to straight up still blend the OG elements of the game's combat with new style. And they went ahead and they created this massive thing that I nerd out about a lot and talk about and made tons of videos on that you guys all love and found a channel from. I think it's one of the best decisions they could have ever made. Yeah, it's definitely my favorite Final Fantasy combat system for sure. Though Endo wanted to introduce action, his desire to balance it with the traditional ATB elements struck a chord with Nomura. I do have this idea of how Final Fantasy battles should be and should feel. We want to still keep the strategy element in which the players will consider the elemental weaknesses of enemies during battle while using these action moves and being engaged intact. That was always my core belief in how we should approach Final Fantasy battles, and I thought this was truly vital to the game. Didn't want it to be a game where it's a reflex type of action or reflex-based battle. We wanted to combine all of these elements. Okay, part of me is kind of reading that as some shade to Final Fantasy 16 and 15, but it's all good. Don't worry about that. Specifically, the elemental thing. I mean, 16 didn't have elemental weaknesses, which is a weird decision in my opinion. I feel like RPGs in Final Fantasy, that's something that is continuously a factor. The elements, using them, avoiding them, just them having an effect on the gameplay. And that not being the case in 16 was very odd, being able to kill bombs with fire. Breaking out. Following the events of Final Fantasy VII Remake, Cloud Tifa, Barret, Aerith, and Red 13 have escaped from the restrictive confines of Midgar. This accurately reflects the progression of the story and format in the original 7, as the party emerges from Midgar's close quarters and linearity and into an open and explorable world map. The longtime Final Fantasy developers have had this in mind since 10 changed how the adventures in the world progress. This is very important guys, if you guys are checking this out right here, this is going to put a smile on a lot of you guys' faces. I made a tweet about this. This still puts a smile on my face, and I can't wait to read this right here with you guys. The longtime Final Fantasy developers have had this in mind ever since 10 changed how adventures in the world progress. We started off expressing this world so that you can venture through with a world map, and that was how it was starting with Final Fantasy 1. Kitase, who serves as a producer on Rebirth, says, but starting with 10, when we entered into this real-time 3D world is when the world map development ceased or halted to some degree. With 10, it was the style where a player would choose a point or an area where they would like to go and travel there. In that sense, the feeling was that since it's real-time 3D, it's not quite possible to create this full world map anymore. While 15 did move closer to the original world map vision when it was released in 2016, Kitase assumed that Hamaguchi, serving as the co-director on Rebirth, would want to continue with that convention of other recent Final Fantasy titles. However, they both felt it would be a disservice to the original FF7 not to include an interconnected world map for players to explore, particularly once the adventure opens up so much in the portion depicted in Rebirth. The team members, including creative director Nomura, were happy to hear that the world map was back, allowing players to freely explore the vast open wilds in the original game. Ever since the world map disappeared, I really had this weird feeling and always thought it was kind of strange that, without a world map. Nomura says, I thought you can't really have an RPG without a world map, and specifically for Final Fantasy VII, to fully experience this world, we must have a world map, and we can't be without it. When I read this earlier, it gave me fucking chills because they really do get it, and I had to tweet it out. Couldn't wait for it to just be in the video. I wanted to share this with you guys because, man, this was something that I doubted. I 2000% doubted that they would make Final Fantasy VII Rebirth an open world game that even had zones and areas that we can access outside of towns. I full on thought, and I can you could probably go back and find videos of me saying this. I full on thought it would be chapter to chapter, jumping from town to town, maybe smaller zones in between that we can access and explore. But when we saw that trailer, right, when we saw the Summer Games Fest reveal, the September reveal, and seeing how crazy they went with this open world, I damn near cried. Tears of joy. Because for the first time, my expectations in a long time were blown away. I was doubting it. I was seriously doubting that they would never do that it's not possible. I did not want to get my hopes up and get worked up and then deflated. But seeing the footage myself, being able to play the gameplay myself back in Vegas in October, shout out to Square Enix for inviting me for that. Dude, I could not believe what I was playing, what I was experiencing, what I was actually going through with this game. I can't wait to share that joy with you guys, and I'm loving that devs are seeing that too, that this is a really important part and element that's been missing from their games for quite some time. And while they have tried to recapture it with recent titles, it just hasn't really felt the same. And I love how they're going above and beyond to making sure that these worlds, these open worlds that we are going to, that we are experiencing, these areas are filled with activities, things to do, and it just feels real and like it's lived in. And I cannot thank Square Enix enough for recognizing that. Hamaguchi, Kitase, Nomura, whoever, everybody on this team that has a part to play in this, thank you. Seriously, one of the greatest feelings in the world. Can't wait to just run around and just do all the crazy side quest stuff, man. God, it gets even better, chat. It gets better. I promise you. The resulting adventure in 7 Rebirth is a vastly different experience that features an enormous explorable region and pushes players towards side content. Seeing that remake is set in the world of Midgar, which players can explore within that area, we lean heavily on story elements, then we're focused on a more narrative-driven game for remake. Now that we're entering the outside world and going forward in that direction, I have this desire to depict more of that feeling of exploration, and I very much feel that this was able to be accomplished for Rebirth. The openness and exploration is refreshing after the often corridor-like structure of remake. According to Hamaguchi, players should expect to find a ton of side content. In fact, he estimates that the approximately 80% of the game's exploration-based content is side content, while the mainline story makes up the remaining 20%. If that makes you worry that Rebirth lacks story content, Hamaguchi says you can relax. Even simply focusing on the main storyline, he estimates it will give players around 40 hours of gameplay. And he's a gameplay. He's not counting cutscenes there, I don't think. Meanwhile, if you tackle a decent amount of the side content, players can expect to spend around 60 hours in Rebirth, while the most dedicated side questers can look forward to upwards of 100 hours of content. That's me. He's talking about me right there, except it'll be 200 hours. But it's not content bloat to inflate those playtime hours. When he asks Hamaguchi for his favorite RPG outside of the Final Fantasy series, without hesitation, he names The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, CD Projekt Red's 2015 masterpiece that many considered the greatest games of all time. That title is known for its meaningful side content, which is so strong that its storylines can sometimes even match those of the main story. Dude, I love that he said this, because for a long time, and even till this day, The Witcher 3 was a game that I still consider one of my favorites of all time. I played a lot of, and I especially loved exploring the world, exploring all the side content, unlocking all the different, like I was talking with Fish Fried Cat about this earlier. The cat school gear, the griffin school gear, the bear school gear, like all of the different gears, like they have side quests relating to them where you can go and find them and locate them. It was so much fun, like all their side characters and the side missions and the way that some of them intertwined with the story, and some of them also felt like they would be part of like the main story. It's so great to see that the creator, well, the director of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hamaguchi, that is one of his favorite games of all time. Mine is too. I still have not like fully even beat it yet. I'm still going through Hearts of Stone, the first DLC. I hope this is something that what we can kind of expect for Rebirth, and then maybe eventually part 3. Fingers crossed. 40 hours equals 20%. That's a 200-hour platinum. Damn, Apple Trees, you did the damn math right there. That's wild. 200 hours to platinum this game. I can kind of believe that. Regarding titles like Witcher 3, which has that open world role-playing type element, we did some extensive research into these types of titles and looked at its baseline, in which Rebirth should be a type of title that can stand alongside it and have the type of content that would be satisfying to its players. Talking about Gwent, baby. Those who played Final Fantasy VII Remake will recognize one of the prominent side quest givers. Chadley, the young researcher, once again does come back into the fold and ask for help learning about materia. He'll reward us with additional summons as we move through the story and world, and he asks you to look into certain happenings through events called World Intel. In your own hands-on session, here we go, during Game Informer's own hands-on session, Chadley asks them to hunt down and defeat certain enemy types as they journey through the sprawling open landscape. With each drawn-out battle, you receive side objectives to complete that will help Chadley's research further. The rewards sound worth it, but from everything you hear from the developers, the story may be the driving force behind pushing players to side quests. To make side content more meaningful, Square Enix expanded the affinity system. This under-the-hood mechanic takes your actions towards a character and translates them into how certain scenes play out. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth side content is a critical driver for this mechanic. Each side quest brings in a secondary protagonist from the party. Completing a side quest improves Cloud's affinity within the given character. I witnessed this firsthand, an exclusive hands-off demo. Hands-off demo, so they watched somebody else play this. Cloud and his party traveled to the Crow's Nest, a town that wasn't in the original game. This is a sister town to Under Junon and features just as many anti-Shinra residents, so once they find out Cloud and his friends are in Avalanche, they welcome them with open arms. In his demo, as the party returns to the town of the Crow's Nest, residents greet them with cheers. This is because the team just completed a side mission where they retrieved an item for another resident. After taking a stroll around the area, Cloud talks to a person who informs him of a mercenary operating out of a nearby lighthouse. Of course, Cloud decides to investigate. Oh, there's a thing about Zack up here. I love that they're mentioning a game that is very well known for its side content in The Witcher 3. Zack is back. At the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, players were surprised by Zack's unexpected appearance. The character who died before the original game's events appears to have a more defined role this time. We have used the character Zack to depict the combined view of story and scenario writer Nojima and creative director Nomura and producer Kitase, the original creators, intents of how this world of Final Fantasy VII came to be and its policies and rule governing this world. Naoki Hamaguchi says this is going to be depicted through the character of Zack as much as the whispers within the story. Zack is an equally immensely important, crucial, key character to this story that I believe fans will enjoy within Rebirth. His story is still a mystery. There's been a lot of discussion, as you guys know on the channel, relating to Zack specifically, whether or not he's in a different timeline, different world. What is going on here? Sephiroth wanted to merge the worlds. What is the purpose behind that? If Zack is what, you know, the fans have named the Terrier world, how did the Beagle world come to be? Or vice versa? Was the Beagle world first and then the Terrierverse came into the play? I don't know. Here is going to be talking about all the mini games, which is an exciting part and element of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that I am looking forward to. I know a lot of you guys are too. On the road again. In the original Final Fantasy VII, the mountains around Junon prevent you from passing, but Cloud is much more nimbler in Rebirth and can climb up and down ledges to reach the desired areas. In addition, players can also call on Chocobos to ride and ease traversal. As you journey through the various regions, you encounter different Chocobo types, each with distinct abilities. One class can fly, while another can use jet propulsion to hover over water. The Chocobos in this area are known as mountain Chocobos and can scale specific walls to reach high ledges or descend rapidly. On the way to the Merc, I get a sense of the battle styles of the two new party members. Red 13 is agile and quick and uses the Vengeance Guard mechanic to fill meter for his new Vengeance mode, while increasing his speed and attack power. Meanwhile, Kate Sith brings the most unique combat style yet to remake series, including moves that play off the luck mechanic from the original game. So this side quest that they're playing through right now, they're meeting up with a mercenary at a lighthouse, and it's with Red 13 and Kate Sith. Kate Sith can fight separately or summon a Moogle to ride on. When on the Moogle, Kate Sith has an entirely separate moveset than when he's on solo, such as a Moogle Mine Attack, where bombs spread across the battlefield. He can also dismount and use his solo moves, while the Moogle will continue attacking as controlled by AI. The Moogle has a separate HP meter, and if he does take too much damage, he'll vanish until Kate Sith summons him again. Damn, man. Kate Sith might be kind of crazy as a tank, as that support, like, tank. They haven't showed much gameplay of Kate Sith yet, but with what they're describing us right here is what we're going to be seeing gameplay-wise very soon. After reaching the lighthouse, players meet Kyrie, a character initially appearing in the Final Fantasy VII novel. The kids are alright, but who has since appeared in Remake. In Rebirth, she's trying to get her new mercenary business off the ground, but she isn't the most well-equipped for the job. So she pops up around the world, and it's up to you to assist her. So that's what we saw earlier with Kyrie selling these. I thought she was just selling these Moogles with like her hat, but she's doing a mercenary business apparently. That's fucking hilarious in a lighthouse. So this is what the next footage that we get is going to be, and that's coming up soon. After wondering why no customers have come to procure her services, the party realizes that the theme song she's been playing attracts enemies, which has scared off any potential clients. In this case, it's a series of flans followed by more powerful white mouses. Mouses? Hamaguchi, who is playing the demo for them, takes the opportunity to call Titan, one of Rebirth's summons. Okay, cool. So in this gameplay, we're going to be able to see Titan. That's great. The hulking creature joins the party in battle, tearing through the white mouses and helping complete the mission. Red 13 is a secondary protagonist in this mission, and thanks to his animal-like presence and appearance, Kyrie wants to make him her pet. However, obviously he shoots her down, and she runs off to her next post. Red 13 looks at Cloud and remarks, "I wouldn't wish her on my worst enemy." Red throwing Kyrie some shade. Cloud and Red's affinity increases for completing this mission, potentially affecting story beats and side content. We wanted to give players the freedom of choice in deciding whether they wanted to dedicate themselves solely to the main storyline and, like, you know, no side quests at all, Hamaguchi says. Or there might be people who want to delve into side content and go really in depth with the character relationships and understand the story deeper, or just the balance of those two. We wanted to give you guys that freedom. Okay, great. So that's awesome for people that prefer to play FF7 for relationship stuff, whether or not that's like shipping related or friendship related. That's cool that they gave players that freedom. And if you're enjoying the story, you can just enjoy the story on its own and just do side quests at a later portion if you don't want to. Another way you can improve affinity is by using a synergy ability between two characters for the first time. These two character attacks use a synergy gauge that charges when you use ATB for a character. Each potential character pairing has a synergy ability with a custom animation and effect. For example, pairing Cloud and Kate Sith results in one of the zaniest attacks where the Moogle will grab Cloud's Buster Sword while Cloud rides on its back. I love seeing which combination resulted in these additional moves and add extra layers of nuance to an already stellar system. But more importantly, the notion of synergy abilities plays into a central theme of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the deepening of the relationships between the party members, which they've talked about a lot. It's specifically, they're focusing on mini games and side aspects of the piano game to enhance the relationship between the characters and also make it more impactful for us when we play it. I mean, they're describing it and it's in their gameplay, so we will be seeing that soon, I guess. The original Final Fantasy VII features a ton of minigames, particularly during its middle section, and Rebirth is no different. One of the most involved and continuous minigames is Queen's Blood, a competitive card game you can play against NPCs in Rebirth. While the team remains tight-lipped about the exact mechanics, we know that it's a strategy card battler with collectible and deck building elements. In terms of the number of cards, there is a massive amount, enough to be like its own card game almost. Gwent? Triple Triad? Co-director Motobu Toriyama says, part of the fun will be collecting these cards. Queen's Blood is more of a strategy and thinking kind of card game. But I took a look at some of the gameplay when you are towards the end and you have collected all the cards. It has the potential to become a very flashy, fast-paced card game. It almost has the instantaneousness of a shooting game, which your opponent may put down a card, then you will instantly put down a card while putting down another. It's very fast, of course, and this is on the max difficulty level of the card game. So I believe there are only going to be a few players that play this at this high of an intensity level. I highly doubt that. Challenge accepted, boy. Challenge accepted. Everybody in this chat is going to be a pro at Queen's Blood. I will make this my mission, chat. You guys, myself, you, if you're watching this later, if you're not even watching this live, you guys are going to be pros at Queen's Blood. I don't know how the hell this game is going to play, but I'm looking forward to it. They straight up said the max difficulty level of this game is kind of wild and almost as fast paced as a first person shooter where things are just non-stop happening. That's crazy. Yes, you there, chat. You guys are going to be pros at this, and challenge accepted. Maybe we make this into its own individual mini game that exists on mobile apps and stuff. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll have to see. The other mini game you got to look at is a piano activity. Though through exploration, Cloud can find sheet music for compositions within the world. He can then sit at the piano and play the songs using 2 analog sticks and some buttons. The piano minigame also features a free play mode, which allows you to perform any song that you want. He watched a developer play a famous Japanese song using the in-game piano mechanics. It looks like it'll take a lot of practice to get that good, but the mechanics seem deep, and the team wants players to embrace the ability to play any song they like and share their performances online. Of course, because that is free marketing and smart marketing at that. But dude, what? We're gonna be able to. So there's a freestyle mode in the piano segment that you could just play whatever you want. You know, in The Last of Us 2, a lot of people were able to make a bunch of songs, like just replay songs in the game, learning how to play actual piano, like reading the notes and learning it that way. I didn't get a look at the Chocobo racing, but the team touts its improvements and modernizations to be more in line of what players expect from a modern form. Players can equip their Chocobos with stat boosting gear, and different types of Chocobos perform differently. Toriyama tells them that Rebirth team even briefly considered collaborating with the developers of the 2022 kart racing Chocobo GP, but eventually decided to go its own route. With Gold Saucer and Fort Condor still yet to be discussed or shown, I can only imagine the minigames waiting for players when they venture to those areas. Man, they're holding their cards close for real. The freestyle mode for you to play and enjoy, like I could see a lot of people just getting thousands of hours of like that content being done, and like even like re-uploading like the what songs they're able to play. The One-Winged Angel returns. Okay. But it's not just the party members whose backstories and relationships are further explored. Sephiroth, the main antagonist, also features a more significant role this time. Remake covers your encounter with Sephiroth, and now within Rebirth, we wanted to make Sephiroth into this very clear antagonist and target for our characters to go and pursue throughout the journey in Rebirth. Kitase says, within the original game, Sephiroth is not really seen very much within the world map, but in this title, we put this element forward, so we will be seeing Sephiroth a lot roaming around, which is cool. During a hands-on experience, he played through an extended version of the flashback, which featured Cloud and Sephiroth teaming up to explore Mount Nebel. Find the Maka reactor at this point in the story. Sephiroth is still a heroic figure, and Cloud is still not even an experienced soldier. Magic sure is weird. So the two are teaming up to complete this mission. Meanwhile, a young Tifa serves as a guide, but not a party member. Sephiroth is a powerful force slashing through enemies, dealing tremendous damage with the awesome unit, and he's not quite as overpowered as he was back in the original game's corresponding flashback, but he's a blast to play. Even though Sephiroth's only playable in a tiny part of the game, they invested in developing his gameplay and even giving him a synergy ability with Cloud. When developing Sephiroth as a character who players are able to control in a limited area, we are considering that you're able to play as this very iconic character. Endo says, taking this into mind, you really took care in providing the sort of resources and costs as equal to those of playable characters into developing Sephiroth in a battle sense. I love that they did that. Sephiroth, to me, just feels insane with how wild his combat and stuff can get. It's cool to see that they really took that into consideration, because it feels like you will be playing as Sephiroth more because of how much detail, how much gameplay mechanics this dude has built into him. But that, I guess, isn't the case. But man, it sure feels like it. The team had to use caution when approaching the handling of Sephiroth. After all, he's one of gaming's most iconic and influential antagonists. So naturally, fans will be touchy about any substantial changes. We felt that it was necessary to have this very clear depiction of how he came to be the person that he is now in Rebirth, Hamaguchi says. Even as a developer creating this game, seeing Sephiroth discover the truth and fall further and further into darkness, like falling from grace, and depicting this in his expressions and actions, you truly did feel bad for him. Throughout the course of Rebirth, I believe players will not only grow and to relate to and understand Cloud, but also Sephiroth through this game much more. I like that they're doing that, and they're making it a point to say, hey, we know this dude is the big and bad dude. We're not gonna change up anything with him, like trying to, like, I guess you could say people are worried about them making Sephiroth a hero and teaming up with him to like make him into a good guy. They're not doing that. I feel like if they did, it would kind of like nerf the tragedy sense of things, but we'll have to wait and see, because, you know, a lot of times we think things are going one way and they go a completely different direction. So fingers crossed that is the case. Seeing Sephiroth's rise to prominence as a more powerful adversary to Cloud and the rest of the party will likely lead to a more impactful depiction of the events where Rebirth's story comes to a close. The events at the Forgotten Capital. Again, they're confirming it ends at the Forgotten Capital. Reborn only to die. Yeah, they show that photo, huh? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth may feature side content and minigames galore, but the main story will undoubtedly leave its mark, since Rebirth brings the story up to a point where the party reaches the Forgotten Capital. Players will need to reckon with Aerith's story arc after playing the game, built around deepening the connections between party members. When I asked the development team about this scene, the previously jovial mood dropped into a somber state. While the team is tight-lipped about how the events will play out, it insists that it has achieved something that will shock even the players who have played through the scene in multiple times. Really? Beginning with the original Final Fantasy VII, when we started working on it, it was already decided from the get-go that life would be the central theme surrounding Final Fantasy VII. Nomura says, I knew that we had to depict life and death within this title. Prior to Final Fantasy VII, there have been other titles where characters have experienced a tragedy, but many of them have come back or been revived in some way. But I believe that loss is something that happens unexpectedly, and it's not something so dramatic or drawn out, but is something in which a person that you have just conversed with is suddenly gone and never is coming back. I believe that the person who dies should not return in this title, and that is what we did with the original. Damn. Okay, Nomura. I was worried they weren't gonna do it, but it looks like they're gonna be doing it, bro. He's right though. Aerith coming back, it sort of like ruins a lot of what the original game accomplished, and that was the theme of death. That there's no Dragon Balls. You can't wish somebody back. You can't have a live stream ghost out here running around with the party, fighting bosses still. Like, that theme of loss is what ties the story all together and kind of gives you more motivation to continuing forward and completing this mission, right? Yeah, the theme of loss. Something that, like, you know, a lot of us inappropriately played when we were young and kids. I mean, Aerith's death was like the first like traumatic thing in my life. What if they pull a wild card and kill off somebody totally random like Sid? Bro, I'd be pissed. I'd be mad. Like, wait, so you're telling me I can never play as Sid? Oh, they're definitely killing off the tiny Bronco, for sure. Those familiar with the scene know all too well the emotional impact the events could have with the deepened relationships and a much better technological, capabilities to express the full scope of the events. The way the developers tease how it plays out, I can't help but be curious and speculate about how it might differ from the original. After all the whispers that help control the fate of Remake are gone, perhaps things can play out differently this time. Or perhaps I'm just setting myself up to be hurt again. Much like the characters in the Final Fantasy VII Remake series who are no longer governed by predetermined fate, the developers talk as though the possibilities in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth are endless. And after what Square Enix accomplished through Final Fantasy VII Remake and how the team explains its approach to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm inclined to believe them. To go more in depth about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the making of the Remake series, and the legacy of 7, head to our exclusive content hub at GameInformer.com/rebirth. Which that is the last page, because now it starts talking about Prince of Persia, the new Prince of Persia stuff, which is really cool. Shout outs to Game Informer, shout outs to Square Enix for this article. If you guys want to check it out yourself, get the screenshots and enjoy it, here we go. It's in the chat right there. You can read through it completely free. And if you want the print, you can purchase it and have it sent to your home. The full cover, the front and back, I think, of this Game Informer. So I know you guys are big collectors. We have a big community of collectors, people that love this sort of stuff. So definitely want to enjoy this. Feel free to purchase it via the link that I had sent you guys so you can own this in person, because man, look at this cover. Front and back. So many good details in this, bro. The life and death, reborn only to die segment right there has a lot of stuff there that is reassuring to people that are worried about the story direction and the way they're taking the game. The main elements to me is with the side quests, how many mini games there are too, and the affinity aspect of it. But not only that, 200 possible hours to platinum this game fully and get everything done. Also the world, the team talking about like the world and how they know that fans for a long time have wanted a world map back, and it just hasn't felt the same without it. So they pulled out all the stops and they went ahead and they made sure that is something that we get to experience in Rebirth, and I am super grateful, beyond grateful for that, man. Like this is a phenomenal piece. What I'm looking forward to most now, guys, is this page here getting a refresh in some ways, where they add in a new piece. We got 2 today. We're probably gonna get another one in a few days, so I'm looking out for that, and I will be bringing you guys a video, of course, whatever that is, because they talk about it specifically here. They talk about their gameplay and what they were able to see in their hands-off demo and record in regards to Cait Sith gameplay, which we'll finally get to see. A side quest between Cloud, Cait Sith, and Red 13, and more aspects and elements relating to Kyrie. So hoping, fingers crossed, we get that. But that's exactly what the Resident Evil 4 content was like, where they talked about it, they made articles about it, and then they released the actual videos where we could enjoy it and see it for ourselves. So this is something fantastic, and I'm really excited about, and I hope you guys are too. But man, that article was amazing. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. What was your favorite part? What are you most excited about? What are you looking forward to? Did that answer a lot of your questions? Big ones, small ones? And also, what do you think about that piano mini game? That thing is gonna get a lot of hours from a lot of people, and I think I might be able to play a couple tracks on there myself, so I'm looking forward to that. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you are new. More Final Fantasy videos, especially this week, are coming your way, and you don't want to miss them. Hit that notification bell too to stay in the loop. My name is BltzZ, and thanks for watching.